Yes, indeed. Welcome to a special Halloween night Bladtcast. I was talking before we started that this is only episode 663. If I had just worked a little bit harder, our Halloween episode could have been episode 666. But I've actually had requests from a few people who specifically want to appear on 666. So this probably works out for the best. But we will make sure to put enough spooky into each spooky season as we talk about the 1978 classic John Carpenter's Halloween, and as so often joined by founding member. You're on the masthead for Bladtcast Inc. William J. Sterling. Hello, sir.
Hello. It's good to be back. It's been a long time.
It has been a minute. Every time I look, like, oh, Will hasn't been on in a little while. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like 20 episodes. So, but
Wow. Thinking used to bother me every week. Be like, we really got to keep this going, you guys. We lost Dennis's studio. We have to do this every week. Used to be weekly, and then
the show's still weekly, but I don't bother you every week because
you got too cool. You had celebrity people.
Well, and we even recorded at your apartment one time while someone was mowing the lawn for the entire episode. So the good old days.
That was the good old days, yeah.
And returning, if we're going to talk seasonal scares, of course, we're going to have From Once Over with Cayley, aka Lucy Tightbox, but we'll try to call you Cayley here. Great to see you, Cayley.
Just don't call me Lori. I don't know what I was going to go with there. Thank you for having me again.
I thought you were going to say, just don't call me late for dinner or some shit. I would have given you a fuck yeah.
Flashbacks here.
I tried to make it Halloweeny, but then I kind of failed.
Well, you got the weenie part right. And from the Without Your Head Horror podcast, the great Nasty Neal, who I'm just meeting for the first time now. But Neal, thank you for joining us to talk about I mean, some could say the most important film in this genre.
Definitely up there. But yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me.
And I love having an excuse to rewatch this movie. It's one of those like, oh, I'm going to watch it every Halloween. And I think the last time I saw it was about a decade ago.
I've never seen it.
No. You're like, I've only seen the Rob Zombie ones. We're not talking about those. One of the last time, probably the last time I saw it in its entirety was at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Will knows about those screenings, and it was on Halloween night. And my wife had never seen it, and she does not enjoy horror or scary movies at all. But in a lot of ways, this is like, kind of going into a museum of, war atrocities. You're like, oh, okay, well, it's not really as scary as if it's actually happening to you, but it's super impressive, just what they're able to accomplish on what I think was $300,000 in budget and $70 million in profit. But of course, now $70 million in profit, you're kicked out of theaters. And I want to just sort of go around and get some thoughts. This seemed to me like the greatest combination of people to talk about this film. One of the things that I at least didn't remember is that the initial test screenings of this movie, they didn't have the theme yet. Mm-hmm. So John Carpenter goes and is like, well, we need this really great theme. And you kind of like when you're listening for it. And I was watching the movie last night with headphones on. So you hear how they adjust the tempo throughout the course of the movie and they kind of stretch it out. And it's like as if the movie wasn't brilliant enough. He's like, oh, yeah, no, we don't need a John Williams. I'm going to do that. We like to practice ladies first here, Cayley. So just overall thoughts on why this movie is great and has, spawned many, many sequels, a couple of them actually good.
What would you say if I said that I just hated this one so much right now? No, honestly, I don't at all. I love this movie. I love this
fun.
movie.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I do know that Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 is one of your favorites.
Of course. Yes, it's true. That's accurate.
And by the way, we'll be talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 this Christmas. And hopefully you
the third one. All right. I'm a fan of the whole franchise.
Because we do one a year. So that's why we're doing 3 this year. But anyway, I'm sorry. So you can use that logic in 2 years from now.
When you get to the doll maker, that might be my favorite one.
Yeah. That's the one with Mickey Rooney, right?
Yeah.
But sorry, Cayley. Just some overall thoughts.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on it in some of your opening statements, which is this is such a rewatchable movie. Every single time that I watch this movie, I like it more and more. Every time that I see it, I get something new out of it. There's some little detail, there's some extra moment of tension. There is something about the score that puts me into that Halloween spirit. And it is a classic for a reason. It is terrifying in all of the right ways. You feel so close with the characters. You feel like you live in their neighborhood. And that is what makes true terror. You know, you don't always have to have the true terror. Sometimes you just have to not know what's lurking behind the bushes.
Right, exactly. You have to not know what's lurking behind the bushes. Will, as someone who is privileged to attend many of your Halloween parties over the years, this movie always seemed to have a presence, whether it was on in the background or perhaps the score. Your apartment that you had in the Valley, I believe, had posters from multiple films in the series.
Lobby cards. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Come on, Christian.
It's like, come on, do you collect things or not?
Yeah, God.
But so talk about, this one. I mean, look, we could talk about Friday the 13th. We could talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. I love those series as well. But talk about, for you personally, the importance of Halloween.
I think it, especially from a low budget standpoint, kind of working in very, as some of my recent productions, we got a lot of limitations, and I think having to think outside the box. This is like one of the primary examples of somebody, a group of people thinking outside the box to try to make just a scary movie that ends up becoming. I mean, they never planned for this. I think that's always what the fun parts of the stories are, is that like this became such a phenomena, but not because that was the intention. I think what we see from like horror movies, not all of them, but a lot of them, and a lot of studio things, is like, we need this to be a franchise because we want money, right? This is like back when people were like, I really hope this works, but I guess if it's a piece of shit, like, it's not the biggest end, it's not the end of the world, and it just becomes something else entirely. And so all these things that are sort of unintentional that become these classic, especially slasher, as a subgenre, like all the iconography of a lot of this stuff, and people reading into things that don't matter. Like, I love listening to all the commentaries and seen a couple Q&As with John Carpenter, and when he answers questions and people want to know what the deeper meaning of stuff is, he's always like, I don't fuck it. It wasn't anything. It's nothing. Like I just told her to sing a song when she walked away, and it's just what she made up. Like, he's so curmudgeonly, and like, I think the specialness of it is that this guy at a young age just set out to make the best movie that he could. And when you make something authentically, I think that's what people connect with, rather than trying to make something that people will like.
Right, exactly. And you can have the the surprise success, but then be completely unable to recapture it. Now, obviously, here on this show, Will, we often invoke the name of Blair Witch Project 2: Book of Shadows.
That's right.
But I don't know that either of us have actually seen it. But we do talk.
Actually, yeah. I should. I've seen the first one so many times, but
yeah. But Neal, just obviously your thoughts on the movie, and why it endures, and why it works to kind of keep going back to Haddonfield even this many years.
I think it's really relatable. Everyone knows Halloween, the holiday itself, and the idea that your neighbor could be evil, could be a killer, for no real reason. He's just evil, and he's a killer, and he's kind of an unassuming guy, and it's during a period of time when everyone's masked. So I think that just inherently is scary to people. The idea it's Halloween, it's just some guy in a mask, not really a scary mask on its own, a typical mask, just like a shape. And he could be a killer. And I don't want to attack the Rob Zombie ones already, but I think that he really missed the point of all that, because he gave a reason why Michael Myers would become what he is instead of just being evil. And he made him this big, giant, scary guy, which everyone would be afraid of regardless.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the most interesting point. We mentioned Silent Night, Deadly Night a moment ago. Exactly what happens, that you can follow. Here's what happens. Here's why he turns out that way. Michael, seems to have loving parents, and there's his sister upstairs with her boyfriend, and brushing her hair completely nude. Cayley, that seems authentic, I'm sure.
It's so funny because every single time that I watch this movie, I forget that happens, one, so early on, and
Yeah.
two, at all. You just get naked chick brushing her hair immediately. It's like the old stereotype of girls like brushing their hair 100 times a day. I love it. I love it so much. I do that every morning.
Well, and it shows because the
Thank you.
hair, the
Brainwashed
hair
me.
is just amazing today. And I think that that's a great observation, Neal. It is that simple. It's just there is no why. He just is, and I mean, Jason, we have the backstory, and look, the
nothing
thing
against a backstory, obviously.
yeah. And the greatest thing about, you go back to this one, at this point, you don't have to think about, wait, what carries over into this movie? Because any of the movies after this point, especially the recent trilogy, is like, is she a sister? No, she's not, right? Or no, I don't think so. But you're never really sure which things you're carrying around. And Will, you and I, there's nothing we like better than a multiple hard resets where you don't know what they pick and choose, right?
Comic books are good for anything. It's every 5 or 6 years. You just
yeah. That's wait, who's the Flash now? I specifically calling that out for you.
Thank
but and it's one of the most commonly known, not even secrets, just sort of behind the scenes things, that the mask is a spray painted William Shatner mask, which it's one of those that like, I certainly didn't know the first time I saw it, but as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that's genius,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing speaks to the economy, sort of the thriftiness of it. And what I loved rewatching it with headphones, I'd probably never watched it with headphones until last night. In the early sequence when Loomis and the nurse are in the car, the thunder is so loud, and it's like you kind of hear them, and I was just like, oh man, I can imagine being in the theater, and you hear that thunder from the back of the theater, and just using the music. It's like, we make the best of what we have. And our visual audience sees the picture behind me is just him peeking out from the bush. You got to try to imagine, Neal, being in 1978, being an audience where you'd never seen it. Oh, okay. So you didn't go at two.
No.
This wasn't your second. Yeah. I was 2 in 1978, and my birthday party was to see Superman, not this. But
lame.
Yeah, I know. Maybe a few years later.
Yeah.
But just the idea of just seeing this guy, it's like, oh my God, he's right there. Those level of jump scares being so much more effective back then. And I was mentioning seeing it with my wife, who sort of appreciated it on this is a movie from, I don't know, 40 years ago at that point. But what stands out to you? And it's fine if you didn't rewatch it until 2 a.m. last night, like I did, Neal. But whenever you do rewatch it, what sort of things Cayley's talking about? Like, oh yeah, you kind of forget that the nudity is right there in the beginning where she's brushing her hair. Are there things that you're like, oh yeah, this, when you go back to it?
I mean, I've seen it so many times, so like I just remember. But the thing that always stands out to me is how much Loomis is the one that really sells how evil Michael is.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see a lot of what he does. But you have this man of science who spent half his life like, I'm gonna help this kid. And then he comes to the realization, like, no, there's nothing to help. He's actual evil. And it's not just some crazy person on the street saying this person's evil. This is a therapist. This is a psychologist saying this. And I think that character is so important to how scary the movie is and how much you fear Michael Myers. Even kind of more so than Michael Myers, I think, is Loomis selling how frightful he is.
Right. He's setting you up for the next time you actually see him on screen, and I think that that is, it is. I don't know what the total, minute count is that you have him, but there's a lot of like waiting for him to show up. And then when he does, he's usually doing something pretty crazy.
And by that point, you're already like, oh shit, there's something wrong.
You're already terrified.
Yeah. And because go ahead, Will.
Just some of the small things I think that end up in dialogue that like they wouldn't or couldn't show back then that maybe now they would, that Loomis is selling when they they get into the house and they discuss the fact that there's a dead dog there, and Loomis is like, he got hungry. You're like, cool, Michael Myers eats dogs. You know what I mean? That's how fucked up this person is that he eats. And you like, I guess now we would show some mangled, horrible thing, but you've just got him kind of giving you that information, and I think you're like, "Ooh, that's."
I'm surprised Rob Zombie didn't put that in one of his.
a good
Actually,
point.
he's like,
Yeah.
let's get
Just the dinner scene of Michael sitting down to a nicely
And
cooked
eating a dog.
Yeah.
the dog eating in there.
I want to add on a little bit to what Neal was just saying. So I think that one of the things that's so incredible is not only Loomis, but we really do kind of get the entire arc of your lifetime within this movie, because you have the children who are afraid of the boogeyman, and maybe it's their naivety that is making them afraid of the boogeyman. It turns out that they're correct because the boogeyman is really there. But, we get to see this very childhood terror. And then we get to see the teenagers, and especially Laurie, who is trying to convince herself that she shouldn't be afraid of anything. So we get to see this kind of period in life when you're going through that coming of age and you're kind of saying to yourself, I shouldn't be scared of all the childhood things that I used to be afraid of. And then we get to see the adults, and the adults are very divided, both with Loomis and Detective or Sheriff Brackett. We get to see the two of them kind of battling it out, where some adults are believers in the fear and the evil, and other adults are trying so hard to repress it. So it's really unique that we get to kind of experience everything that we go through in our lives when it comes to fear and terror.
Yeah, no, I think that you're talking about, you do have sort of this closeness with the characters because we're spending time with them, walking home from school, and they are having fairly benign conversations, fairly just run of the mill, like, yeah, what's wrong with Laurie? Why doesn't she have plans to go out like ever? And the big plan for the dance, which always good to have a dance the day after Halloween, but Ben Tramer, who we don't get
Part of
to
the
meet.
World Day dance, Christian. Come on.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's right. I do need to point out that's true. We've done a whole episode where we talk about. Why don't you explain November 1st to our
Stop
guest?
down. November 1st is the day that, if you so choose, you can start listening to Christmas music. You're not forced to, but you're allowed to if you'd like. I coined it when I was in college. It's called Joy to the World Day. So it would not be unheard of for someone to host a dance on the day that you could start listening to Christmas music.
It's like the equivalent of Sadie Hawkins Day dances.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, my son Felix, we were talking about our plans for the weekend after Halloween, and he's like, "Well, November 1st is Joy to the World Day." I'm like, "Oh wow, he does listen."
Get out
Not
of
to
here.
the podcast, but he don't. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, but
off topic, but kind of about what you were saying there. Do any of you have Spirit Christmas near you? Because that's what Spirit Halloween becomes. But it's very limited. They have,
No,
I don't have it
Art
yet.
the Clown nutcrackers and stuff. I don't have any near me though.
I've never seen a Spirit.
It's new this year.
Oh, okay.
I think there was a couple last year, but very few. But this year, I think they've expanded.
Yeah.
I do want to circle back. Will, you were talking about the dog in the house, and I did want to take a moment to pour one out for Lester the dog, who did give his life 47 years ago tonight.
That's right. German Shepherd.
Do you think it's a different dog in the house, so that Michael's killed two dogs in this movie? I mean, we know how many people he kills, but only in this moment am I like, wait, is the dog in the house a different dog? Or did he bring the dog into the house so he could eat it?
No, I think he kills two dogs.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So now we really hate him, right?
He kills two dogs. It's so rare. You never get kid death and you never get animal death. I mean, you do, but like it's relatively rare in horror movies. We tend to shy away from those things. And it's too, the kill count of dogs in this movie is too. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's even a website. It's like it's something about Killed the Cat, where people who are triggered by that will go and look to see if there's any animal deaths in movies, and they won't watch them specifically for that.
People, no problem. It's okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. I've always thought
you're walking in prepared for that. So Cayley, obviously, there would be, I don't know, over the past decades, there would be quizzes where you try to figure out which one of the ladies from Sex and the City are. But if you watch this movie, which one of Laurie and her friend are you an Annie? I don't want to judge, but I feel like you might be an Annie.
I'm an Annie. I think that I'm a Laurie. I think I'm a nerd. I think like I'm the one who would be like, I need to go and get my chemistry book. I forgot to bring my chemistry book, and I don't want to go to the dance with a boy. I just want to like stay home and do this and be responsible. I think she's the responsible one, but of course, we get the traditional final girl stuff with her in this, and I love the idea of of getting to wield a phallic-shaped object in order to kill a man. So, yeah, I think I got to be a Lori. I want to be a
Careful in
Lori.
Boston next week.
I know.
Yeah, that's right.
Ooh.
You got to watch out. But yeah, and I was obviously, you see it every time, but it's like this time the observation struck me as Henfield must have the shittiest weed because Lori has a terrible time. But I'm like, oh, she smokes weed, so she's like a little bit, she's not as pure as the way that the Scream movies spell it out for us. But obviously,
I'm just realizing that means that she's cooler than me because I don't even smoke weed. Oh no, I'm such a loser.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm straight edge. So.
Oh,
Well, that's
I
one of
guess
the
I'm
little-
Lori too, maybe.
The little details, for whatever reason, that hasn't always bothered me, but I think as I got old enough to understand, like they're smoking weed, and then Annie's like, "My dad," and then she throws it out the window. They pull up, and Sheriff Brackett's like, "Hi, girls," and I'm like, first thing out of that man's mouth, because that scent is impossible to get rid of, should be, "What the fuck are you guys doing? You smoking?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
You're borrowing mom's car
Yeah.
and smoking weed in it."
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah. One of the nice things about living in Southern California, and Will, I don't know how many times you had this happen, but I had multiple people visit that were like, "Hey, can we go to South Pasadena and walk around?" And so,
Dude,
I've seen the houses and
the coolest thing that's ever happened. I have a friend, actually, the actual Myers house, which they moved to the corner, but it's the same structure, is an office building. It's now you can like office space technically, but they're the rooms of the house. It's still a house. I have a friend who owns the space that is Judith Myers' bedroom and an adjoining room. And I watched Halloween in Judith Myers' bedroom in the Myers house.
wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Trippy.
that's but and there's they do a good job of obscuring the palm trees except for towards the end of the movie, but
It's something I never thought about as a kid watching it until like I'm on the internet and people bring it up all the time. But as a kid, it never stood out to me.
Go ahead, Will.
Growing up in Southern California, like that is what Halloween looks like. Like the picture behind you with the green trees of like Pasadena, like it's pretty much looks like that all the time. So I feel like I was like, yeah, that's what Halloween. And people are like, no, that's not what it would look like in Ohio. And I was like,
yeah. I've had to explain to my wife how we had to go trick or treating with our jackets on. So you'd like, you'd ring the doorbell and then you'd be like, all right, this is, almost like you're like flashing because it was so cold. And she's like, oh, that sounds so sad. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I guess it was. Yeah. But I know, Cayley, you can relate.
I grew up in upstate New York, but I think that one of the reasons that we kind of ignore the palm trees is because we do get so many shots of the teenagers walking around after school and walking around the neighborhood. And one of the ways that the camera really lingers, even though we can see all of these green trees in the background, there's a lot of shots where you can just kind of see leaves just sweeping across the sidewalk. And I think that to me, when I was younger, it gave me the feeling of Halloween, even though I grew up in, the like New York State where it is freezing cold on Halloween every single year. It still felt like Halloween because I had those leaves that were just kind of trailing behind all of the students as they walked. And the camera really does linger on stuff like that. So it's successful, I think.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. I grew up in New England and Massachusetts, and same thing. Like the leaves on the sidewalk is very much October to me.
Right, and I guess those are stage leaves that they had to move throughout the shoot, and then like
throw them this way.
They also had trouble finding pumpkins because they filmed this in May. So the things you find. Neal, we were kind of talking about some of the conversations and stuff, and there is the great line that makes, I think this is an Australian poster, that's everyone is entitled to one good scare, but. One of the things that sometimes will catch me, like last night, is when Loomis is in the cemetery and looking around, and the guy's like, yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of stuff happens all the time. So the guy finishes his dinner and he goes and gets a hacksaw. And then it's like, Loomis is like, yeah, I've heard like, 1,000 stories like that. I don't need yours. But I was like, I kind of want to hear more about that story, though. I'm interested. But I think it does a great job of world building, even a scene like that you don't need.
Everyone seems like real people in the movie, which is good in a horror movie because you've got like he's not supernatural, but he's this this killer. And then if you can relate to all the people in it, and they just seem like real people that you might meet in your neighborhood, that just amplifies the terror. And I did want to mention, because Cayley mentioned Lori being like the prototypical, not prototypical, but like the final girl. And I think what makes her so good in this is she's not like a superhero final girl, like in like a lot of later movies where she's just beating everyone's ass and like doing like karate kicks to Michael or something. She's like, she uses her wit, and you feel like she's in danger, and she's not overpowering Michael. And I think that's important in these kind of movies.
Yeah, the dumb luck for her that Michael misses her and just tears her shirt, but then also she flips over all the way down the stairs, and then it's like it justifies how hard it is for her to get away from him and do anything, whereas later movies that we've all seen, you're never really sure why somebody has such a hard time. Like, can't you just go out that door? Well, it's like, well, there's a rake keeping this window and you're limping around, and she's much worse for wear. And I don't know, something about this town, they don't really teach girls where to keep their keys. Nobody can find their keys in this goddamn movie, and it's lucky for Michael, that nobody can find their keys.
Yeah.
But
it's always fun to be reminded of the movies that invented tropes, or really made tropes catch on, because then they become so self-aware that like everyone's like, well, the final girl's got to be, a badass or all these kinds of things. And it's like back then, John Carpenter's like, I don't know, she's a babysitter and he's crazy. I don't know, she lost the keys. Like you just like all these conveniences that back then it was just like, I don't know, let's do this. And now people are like, so self-aware about all that stuff that it's impossible not to.
That's an interesting idea though, like for someone who was born in the last 20 years or something and would watch Halloween for the first time, if they would have a completely different view of it.
I think so. They'd probably be like, why is she such a fucking idiot?
The same thing with Blair Witch. I always think if you weren't around when it came out, I don't think the movie would really work for you.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you were able to see it before the cast showed up at the MTV Awards and you were like, wait, what happened to them? Wait, what, what's real about this? There was so much mystery, and I mean,
it was,
go ahead.
I know this isn't Blair Witch show, but like when that came out, it was like the perfect, the internet was like a perfect time for that movie. Like it was big enough that people could read about the movie and think it is real, but it wasn't big enough where everyone just knew it was just a movie. So it people really did think this was real. Like if you were alive at the time. And also if you watch it now, you've already seen so many found footage movies, it doesn't really, I don't know if it stands out, oh, this was a copy of these other movies that actually,
I haven't rewatched that in a long time. I feel like you have to appreciate it sort of, like I was saying, in sort of the museum way. You're like, oh yes, for 1999, this is amazing. And, now it's like, oh yeah, all these actors are on Instagram. Yeah, here's their reel from this morning. So I know she's not dead because I know what she had for breakfast. It was very uninspired. It was avocado toast. But to that end, by the time that many people see this, they've seen so many movies with fake, not even fake, but fake out where, oh, he's dead now. Oh, just kidding, he's alive. Oh, but now he's really dead. Okay, no, he's not dead. So the idea of being in the roller coaster for this movie that's only 90 minutes, especially like the last 20, I can't imagine, seeing this in that era where you haven't seen everything that's been inspired by it. And I mean, even watching it now, Cayley, I mean, they're all great. It's like the first time you're like, you really think you killed him with a coat hanger? I mean, come on.
But what about a knitting needle?
Yeah. Well, that's true. The knitting needle's first. You're right. Yeah. So if the knitting needle didn't kill him, it can't possibly be the coat hanger. Lori, I thought you were smart. You should have gone back to school and gotten more books. You need to read more. But what do you think as you watch some of the kills that turn out not to be kills of Michael? Of the shape, Cayley?
I actually think that it continues to be successful, even for somebody who maybe has grown up more recently and didn't experience this as a part of their childhood. And the reason that I think that is because all of those moments are accompanied by the incredible score of this film. And so even though you're kind of like, okay, he's getting up again, there's still all of this tension. And again, because we're kind of being brought along with Laurie for this, and Laurie is saying to herself things like, oh, I shouldn't be afraid of the boogeyman. You know, she's convincing herself that she should be more adult-like. She is trying, that's her major prerogative here. And now she is having to confront true evil, and she's doing it. And so even though he's getting up and that's a little silly, maybe the tension is like, it's so palpable.
Yeah, I mean, even to like the final shot where Loomis looks out in the yard and is like, "Oh, he's gone," you know, and then you think, well, I may or may not know what happens next, depending on if I'm allowed to count Halloween 2. You know, that starts right there, or if I have to, jump ahead to H2O. The first one I ever saw in the theater was 4. And so I don't think that that's probably not the best one, but when you start being able to see these and the Nightmare on Elm Streets, which I think 3 was the first one I saw in the theater, getting to see them in the theater instead of, the VHS on the tiny 19-inch screen TV, the movies all work so much better. Especially like I was saying, seeing Halloween in a graveyard. But what do you think, Will, about, sort of, yes, you're like, okay, these are tropes because of how well they work here, right?
I mean, a lot of it. It's interesting because it's like, I think Friday the 13th came out a year or two after, and it was trying to.
I think the first one's 1980. Yeah.
Yeah. They're still trying to figure it out, and how much John Carpenter fucking hated writing number 2. He's like, I would buy a 6-pack of beer every night, and I would get drunk, and I'd write this movie because I had to write it because they said that they wanted to make it. So like he hates that movie, so the lore ends up being all these continuations that further sort of cement the tropes, is just because people had to repeat them, or they wanted to do, then a studio or some production company is like, well, it worked for Halloween, so like we should do it, and I think it became a moneymaker because it became this reliable thing because it worked. So many people argue about like what the first slasher is, and people can say like it's the 13 Women from 1930 whatever with Myrna Loy. I'm like, okay, but like this format, what we know and like have built, I think really does all come from Halloween. Psycho is not the same, but people say it's Psycho, and I'm like, but it's not the same.
With Psycho, it's like, well, you can isolate the shower scene,
yeah,
but there's such a more sophisticated story around it.
Yeah, they just fixate on someone being slashed as opposed to like the formula of a slasher.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
because honestly, like Jaws 2, I would argue is a slasher movie just with a shark. It's, it's not, it's not he's not slashing people. But.
Right.
Well,
but it follows all the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why Scream. I rewatched all the Scream movies this year. I hadn't seen some of the sequels in a long time. I watched the first one pretty regularly, just because I think that movie, the first one especially, is incredible from a writing standpoint because it's self-aware of all these things. But then at the same time, it sort of reinvented the genre for a new era of people by leaning into the tropes. And so I think it not only did tropes exist and become off the rails, like Friday the 13th part like 7, where there's the Carrie girl, and then part 8 where he goes to Manhattan, which, say what you will, fantastic movie. I'm sorry, he punches the head off. It's incredible.
Cheap plug, that actor VC Dupree is in my first feature film with the head. Yeah.
Amazing. And then you have a movie like Scream, which says like, okay, now let's like actually talk about this stuff and build it into the movie. That then slashers became the tropes became. So it's like you only get this because people want to recatch lightning in a bottle, and then 20 years later fans want to reflect as filmmakers now like what they loved about this thing. And so you get this interesting evolution of tropes just the further it goes along. And now we're however many years after, almost 50 years since Halloween first came out.
Yeah.
And you've got the new trilogy, which we can
we covered those in real time on this podcast.
Yeah,
And
when Michael Myers is like perfectly lit, and you realize like the only thing like scary is just gore and not mystery
Well, the only thing that was
Evil
scary was what had happened to
Evil
Anthony
dies. That's right, except it died the year after because
Evil didn't die tonight because they had one more movie, and that was what we talked about at the time. It's like, no, we know there's another one,
and we know it's called Halloween Ends, so it can't die tonight because we know the fucking next movie is called Halloween Ends.
Yeah, don't tell us what it's called. Anthony Michael Hall, the size of his head was one of the scariest things in that movie, if I must say.
Yeah.
But
by the way, Paul Rudd, way cooler, older Tommy Doyle than Anthony Michael Hall. Bring back Paul Rudd. How dare you? One of the great things about Halloween 6, of the few great things about that movie.
Well, he's busy now. That's the difference.
That's true.
But what you're saying about Scream, it was just making me think about I think Scream is 96, and it's that era where, those of us who, grew up in whenever you were born, but you're growing up throughout the 80s. And just a couple years earlier, one of the things that people latched on to Kevin Smith's first film, Clerks, is like people talking about movies the way we all talk about movies that we're doing right now. But we always did this, in our private life, and then they're putting it up on the screen, and just, it's like, yes, exactly. And here's the rules. And, I think that,
real quick, I don't think Fright Night gets enough credit for that, because I think they did that like 10 years prior.
You know what? That's a great point. And we're of course not talking about the new Fright Night with David Tennant. We're talking about the classic Fright Night. Yeah. I hadn't thought about Fright Night actually in a while, and there's not enough time for me to try to watch it before Halloween, but maybe next year. We're talking about the other characters in the movie, and this was the era where you knew safely that nothing was going to happen to the kids. It's one of the recent trilogy, right, where it is Michael like walks into a room and there's a baby crying, but he just goes right past it. I'm remembering that correctly, right? I think I can't remember what movie it is, but there's, so it's like, no, that's not what he's here for. He's here to kill horny teenagers. Okay. So don't worry. He's not here for the kids. But, of course, this film has the future Real Housewife of Haddonfield, Kyle Richards as Lindsay, who, man, I forgot they brought her back in the new trilogy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So I guess just because it's like they say about Jurassic Park, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
They run out of people to bring back.
Yeah.
So
They keep trying. And
who's still alive?
They brought the nurse back in H2O, and then they brought her back again in the new trilogy. And it's funny because it's so fucking A New Hope like methodology of like, well, let's just bring back the people and make the same movie basically, and then people will like it. And it's like, aren't you guys excited that Kyle Richards is coming back? And everyone's kind of just like, no.
Okay. Yeah.
He was fucking 8 in that first movie. Like, it's not actually give
but at the same time, Will, would you go with me to see Aunt Beru, A Star Wars Story? Because that sounds very captivating to me.
Yes, I would actually.
Okay, good.
Only if it stars Kyle Richards as Aunt Beru.
Honestly, that probably would be decent casting. But in the movie, I think that the kids tend to be pretty good, and that it stands out when kids aren't good at a movie. So I think they have the right level. I think that the kids are better than the names of superhero comics that Carpenter came up with. Laser Man, Neutron Man, Tarantula Man. It's like none of those are comics, but if they were, I would read all 3.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. I guess that was kind of the large Spider-Man, Batman, Superman. It's like when you see it now, you're like, God, get clever, John. But like in 1976, it's like, fuck, again, that's the John Carpenter way of things. Like, I don't fucking know. Who knows? Just what it's a Tarantula Man. You're like, yeah, okay.
But I do want to focus on, it doesn't necessarily have to be the kids, but I think that for the most part, Neal, we get good performances from the side characters.
Souls is really fun in the movie.
She's so good.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, and I think think that helps. I would say the actors in the flashback are probably the weakest, but it works because it's an earlier era.
Mm-hmm.
So
and it's that's pretty brief too. So.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly. And again, we have the important scene of the naked woman brushing her hair. So that's what we really needed.
Great
Um,
performance.
so we'll circle back to the original when we wind down in a little bit. But in terms of, as the series goes on, and I do want to do a standalone episode on Season of the Witch. In fact, I deliberated with
I'm a huge
Cayley.
fan.
I deliberated with
I love
Cayley.
the
I
movie.
kind of wanted
Yeah.
to do that, but I was like, let's do the first one first, and we'll
Yeah.
get to Season of the Witch. But the ones that sort of continue the Michael story, because I think that's a whole separate conversation, Season of the Witch. Is there another one that you're like, and you don't have to be as cutesy to say this one is my second favorite, but is there one that comes to mind? I'll ask you first, Will. It's like, this one really works as well in terms of any of the sequels that follow in the series.
It's funny because I feel like everybody, horror fans are already so particular, and Halloween fans on top of that are even more so. That like Season of the Witch is definitely number 2 for me, just because it's different, and I appreciated what Carpenter wanted to do with the anthology thing, kind of before anthologies were like cool. Didn't work, obviously. I quite like H2O. For a lot of different reasons. The mask is a mess, and there's like the CGI shit. There's a lot of shit that's like fucked with it, but it does, I think, way better than what this new trilogy was like. Well, let's just do that again. I'm like, but H2O,
let's
did
do
that
H4O.
already. Yeah, like, they did it. And
Neal, don't say that out loud. You might be able to pitch that somewhere.
I thought they did it pretty well, all things considered, and it was like right in the sweet spot of the dimension there, like trying to figure things out. And Kevin Williamson on rewrites, obviously, because Scream had blown up, and so you get the zeitgeist. It's also part of that late 90s slasher revival thing that Williamson is such a big piece of, that I think makes that movie feel special, and it feels like it has the passion behind it that makes for a good sequel. It feels like it is made by fans who like the franchise, as opposed to like 4, 5, 6, where they're still churning the franchise machine and trying to see what'll work. It does feel more like a love letter, I think, to the franchise.
Yeah, I would say, again, seeing 4 onward in the theater, this was a great experience. H2O does stand out. And yes, if you want to look at anything with like, the jeweler's loop and really zoom in, you're going to find the things that maybe don't work. But again, remembering
if you
it in
haven't
the
seen
moment.
the standalone scene just on YouTube of the CGI Michael Myers mask that they like tried to fix, it is so hilarious because it's so fucking bad, and you're like, how did they even think that this was a good idea? But they did it. So like, go look that up right now and watch CGI.
I'm going to try and find it while I ask Neal. Since we're talking about H2O, give us your thoughts on that. But then pick. From
I always liked H2O, and it
Yeah.
seems kind of hated today on the internet. Like most people seem to really hate it, but I thought it was one of the better sequels, and I think everything after H2O is really rotten. But I even liked up till 6 as a kid, because I was like looking forward to like the follow up to like the Thorn cult,
The Curse
and
of
you
Thorn,
see like the guy walking in with the boots at the end of part 6, and then boom, though, it just gets rebooted. So I've never had a payoff to that. So instead of always rebooting after 1 or 2, someone needs to, like, the new one should be, it picks up after part 6.
I've heard that like that would be a fun way to bring back like Danielle Harris as an adult, like Jamie, and you just do a not requel, but what do they call it? Another multiverse situation. I'm like, fuck it, why not? There's Welcome to Derry on HBO Max. It's like, you can milk anything. Why not have the thing about the guy who takes a hacksaw to his family and call it, before there was Halloween, there was Hacksaw Man? And
that's actually what I was up all night writing.
There's an interesting fan theory about part 3 is still part of the Michael Myers thing, and that the company makes the Silver Shamrock that makes the mask. That the kid, when he's a little kid and he kills his sister, he's actually wearing like a prototype of that mask, and that's what makes him kill his sister. And I'm sure that's not the intention, but I think it's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, although they watch Halloween on television at the bar.
Yeah, it's in the background.
But it could have just been a news report,
That's true. You're right. You're right.
And then again, you can go in and digitally alter the image and just put like a local news logo. Over there.
Halloween Resurrection, they made a point in H2O to be like, let's fucking kill Michael Myers once and for all. And you're like, that's kind of badass. Like, you could just James Bond it and just reboot, whatever. But then Resurrection, they're like, he switched his body with the paramedic, and that's the guy who died, because they needed to make follow up to that. That's I hate it when they water down their
when they did the trilogy, if they had only done the first one, I'd be like, all right, it was okay. I thought I didn't think it was amazing, but we talked about it at the time. Well,
yeah.
I was like, okay, but we knew there were more coming. Cayley, I want to let you weigh in on H2O with its very 90s cast ensemble photo here, by the way.
I know. Look at all those eyebrows. Oh, women in
I
the
mean,
90s with their damn eyebrows. I mean, look at those not eyebrows. It's really
Michelle
well.
Williams
Yeah,
has
Michelle Williams.
never looked more like Dwayne The Rock Johnson with that eyebrow that she's got right there. Yes.
I love H2O. So this is the first one that I saw in theaters, and I was so excited.
Humble
And
brag.
I know so much youth in my life. Or I was just a giant loser and never went and saw movies.
Oh, that's
You'll
right.
never know.
You had to go back to school and get your chemistry book.
I had to
forgot.
go get my chemistry books. Yeah. So it has a special place in my heart in the series because of that. But in addition to that, I think that it really does harken back to the original movie in so many ways. You know, we get in the original, we have like the closet scene, but we also have, you know, Michael kind of hiding in the dark, and we get the really amazing closet scene also in H2O. And there's just so many great things within that film. I tell myself, I rewatch the full series almost every year. And every single time that I go to rewatch the series, I'm like, I really only like the original Season of the Witch and H2O. And then every single year, I'm like, oh man, I love all these movies. Dang it. Like, I always think that I'm going to hate all of the other movies. And every year I'm pleasantly surprised. It's just it's a great series. It really is. And there are plenty of flaws, but that doesn't mean that I'm not having fun while I'm watching it.
Well, speaking of flaws, I think this is what you're talking about.
Yeah, there it is.
I found this on
I've never
Reddit.
seen that before.
Yeah. And
seeing it happen in the movie is also because it's such a quick shot and you're like, what the fuck? What did I just like? You don't fully register what it is.
No, I know. And there's there's something to be said for CGI that holds up. But when you look at early CGI, I mean, we've talked about X-Men Origins Wolverine in the past, that it might not be the finest entry in Marvel properties, but it was on at the gym, Planet Fitness. Well, that's where everything's happened. The Judgment Free Zone. His claws look ridiculous, the CGI claws, and that movie more than others. And you're like, oh, you really have to spend money. And you just start to think like, oh, you probably want to go back and fix, like, just take this shot out of the movie.
It's remastered.
I always think like even bad practical effects has like a charm to it.
Yeah.
Bad CG is just bad.
Yeah, no, bad CG. Yeah, sorry, bad practical effects. You're like, oh man, look at what they were trying to do, and look how close they got. And it's like, I definitely agree with that.
I think the brain registers, and maybe this is a conversation for scientists, the brain registers real texture better in memory and experience than it does something.
I also think the weight is a big deal.
Right.
You can tell a lot of the CG is not really there.
Right. And so like it misses the mark. And then when you go back and you rewatch it and it looks like everything is so dated now that you're like, oh God, but when it came out, we were like, wow, this is incredible. And now, even like Batman Begins and stuff, there's like some of the CGI trains and like little sequences where I'm like, oh my God.
I would say like the Star Wars trilogy, like it looks really bad now. Like I didn't like the movies anyway, but like
but
it does not age well.
You can definitely appreciate the practical effects, especially as someone who watched many behind the scenes things and how long it took. You're like, oh yeah, things look better when they're little models that they're actually like blowing up. The bridge on the River Kwai, things like that. It's like no, I don't want a CGI version of it, and especially don't go into a movie like Star Wars that had their effects. There's a way to clean it up, but it's like, what we really need here is a big production song and dance number.
Yeah,
let's add that.
Jabba the Hutt in the scene.
There was a line that I made a note of in the original Halloween, which is predominantly what we're talking about. And I'm gonna let each of you try and interpret it. I'm gonna ask you first, Cayley. So they get to the house. I guess no, this isn't Annie. This is Bob and what was the other girl's name? Annie,
Lindsay. Oh, Linda.
No, Lindsay's a little Linda.
Linda.
Yeah, very confusing. So
too many
Bob,
names.
Bob and Linda get to the house, and Bob says, first I rip off your clothes, then you rip my clothes off, then we rip Lindsay's clothes off. What?
Yep.
What in the hell are you talking about? He's like just trying to, and what is Bob thinking? Is his blood just all left his head and gone right to his dick, Cayley?
Yes, it truly
Okay.
has. Also, I have a related question for you guys, perhaps.
Okay.
I'm sure that this has been discussed before. I don't think I've ever thought about this in previous watchings of this film. Did this movie invent stuck porn?
That's a good.
Oh,
I always think
she
that that's
is
like the most
stuck.
silly
Yeah.
niche version of porn, but it's like every time, like maybe it did.
She is stuck in that window and her butt is dangling out of it. And the camera, that's another time. The camera lingers on the leaves and it lingers on her butt. And she's like, just pull my foot. And she can obviously get out.
Yeah.
Seriously, did stuck porn exist?
Well, the
before this
fact that
movie?
her butt is hanging out and we see her foot, we all know Quentin Tarantino worked in a video store, so the VHS copy there is really worn out on that part because of I just need to see that one more time. It's a great question. It must be. I don't know that I had seen it before. And look, I mean, this isn't one of the.
Watch it after this.
Yeah, I never thought about it, but now. That's all I'm gonna see.
And then when she tells her boyfriend, when she's talking to her boyfriend Paul on the phone, she says something like, well, yeah, but I've seen you stuck in plenty of other positions. Yeah. So like there's a clear implication that that is supposed to be pornographic.
Right. I think it's the inherent like power imbalance and caught in a compromising position that, like, girls are also ding-dongs to a lot of dudes who make movies that think like, oh, she got stuck, like, how could she possibly get out of this situation?
That's a good point.
Like,
that's a good point.
You're dealing with people who, I don't know, also probably thought, like, again, Carpenter's like, I don't know, she gets stuck in the window, like.
And obviously also she was doing laundry like any good woman should be doing.
Wow.
So
honestly, she took care of the spill, like, stained, like, right away, as smart. Anytime I get something on my shirt, I'm like, I gotta watch this right away. I can't have a stain.
Yeah.
So she was only looking out.
I think Kelly's onto something. This movie's even more influential than we thought.
Yeah.
This doesn't get talked about enough.
Started stuck porn genre. Yeah.
I know. I know what I got to clip out of this episode and push out on social media for sure.
Oh no.
But
that laundry room, I cannot imagine having to walk outside to get to my laundry room.
Well, especially in Illinois, I mean, it's pretty cold. But why, Will? Did you have an outside laundry room growing up?
No, I guess I just, like, now that I've only lived in New York for a short period of time, I'm like, laundry can be a real hurdle sometimes.
Well, if I have to go to a laundromat, then it makes sense to have to go outside to do my laundry. But if I live in a house, I would expect to not have to walk outdoors in order to do my laundry.
Or at least
maybe I'm spoiled.
No, at least in a connected garage. I think you might be onto something.
Different time in the 70s, different way of doing things.
And then also think, the domino effect. This is because she's making the popcorn. If this was just, I don't know, 4 years later, she would have tossed the Orville Redenbacher in the microwave.
Yep.
And then it would have been ready. So none of these things would have happened. So this is the perfect time.
Yeah, technology ruins movies, like cell phones.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, it totally does, because it's like, oh yeah, you would have a phone in your pocket and you could just call.
My dad used to say that cell phones have made every single movie solvable. You can solve every single movie with a cell phone. And I was like, that's not entirely true, but I understand what your point is.
It's going to factor into a movie when they're like, oh yeah, I got to go up to the cabin. There's no service up there, but if I go to the top of the mountain, I might be able to get one bar.
Or there's some reason why everyone has to give their phone up.
Oh yeah.
There's always some shoehorn reason that the phone won't work.
I have such a strong preference for when they just don't mention it.
I agree.
If you just don't mention it, then I don't think about it.
Right.
But maybe that's because I'm a dumb woman, but I don't know.
No. That's not the problem. But Will, you talk about a lot of times how movies need to have that one guy in the meeting about it who's just like, yeah, okay, but one question. Can't you just fix it with a cell phone? But maybe you don't address it, I guess.
Audiences are too self-aware now. We can't successfully, it's very hard to make movies where, because of the internet and fandom and culture, like all these different things, like, to really please all of the people all the time, just not possible. And I think too many people are like plot hole monsters where they're constantly like, this movie's bad because of all these plot holes. I'm like, every movie is full of fucking plot holes if you really get into the minutia of how this stuff works. And for whatever reason, I think people who make decisions either from a screenwriting standpoint or an executive standpoint, somebody's always going, well, they should at least mention what the phone situation is because the fans are going to talk about the phone, you know? And so there's always that line because somebody's like, fine. You know, like the guy in the room was like, well, what about the phones? And somebody's got to be like, yeah, no service up here. That's a bummer. And then they just
I'd rather not have it over explained to me, up front because I don't know. You can see the seams as they say.
And movies that embrace, like, if there's a lot of someone like texting in a movie, that's like really off-putting to me. That's not entertaining to watch. Every once in a while, someone will find a way to make it entertaining, but usually it's not fun to watch in a movie.
Yeah, I mean, and they try and do the thing where like, it like pop up video on the screen and somebody reads it, but it's also like, okay, is that what we're doing? But although that does remind me, Will, where can people go to see a cell phone movie?
Oh gosh, it's actually going to be playing in LA on Thursday,
in November
13th, November 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of.
I still haven't seen that. I've seen That Friend, but I've never seen.
What's the cell phone movie? I don't know anything.
That's
about
a feature I made. It's a meta comedy. We shot it on a phone. I'm a struggling out of work actor, and it's about a fictional version of me, also struggling out of work actor who makes a movie on a cell phone. And the movie that he's making is about a struggling out of work actor who makes a movie.
Right. What you know, they say.
Yeah. So yeah.
And Neal, you sent me a trailer, which, as it turned out, I had already seen. But talk about what you have coming up.
Oh, so yeah, Solvent is a movie I produced with my friend Johannes Grentfettner in Austria.
Get out of here! I saw that in Brazil at
really?
Yeah, I met Grentfettner there.
Johannes is a good friend of mine. He's in my short film. But anyway, he's a cool guy, and so I helped produce his movie Solvent. And so big news! It's going to be on Shudder in early 2026. So it's the first movie I've had any part of. The first movie I produced that will be on Shudder, and that's very
amazing.
Exciting.
That's fantastic.
I would say people check out the trailer, and it's one of those. I don't know. I guess
definitely
it's like
not a movie for everybody.
It's a trip for sure. Yeah. I like it because I like that kind of shit, and this is like
I like his movies
to the max. Yeah, with some of this weird stuff, but there was a lot of squeamish people in the theater when I saw it.
Right.
There's a lot of penises in the movie.
Oh, I'm in.
There is a lot of penises.
Yeah.
And not nice things happen to them.
I'm in even more.
now she's gonna walk out of the theater and get right back in to see it. Oh, it's on Shudder, so she's just gonna keep it on loop. Yeah, and
it reminds me that I need to renew my Shudder subscription.
See, that's the public service here, and it's crazy to think about. I'm sure that people needed to walk out of this movie, walk out of Halloween when certain things were happening. Maybe it was the dead dog, the first dead dog that we don't actually see, or any of that. But it is interesting. You have to look in a vacuum sometimes. You hear about those early screenings of The Exorcist where people were like throwing up and needed counseling or whatever, passed for counseling in 1974, and you're like, oh, it's great.
And there's not a lot of kills in Halloween.
Yeah,
and there's like maybe no blood or very little blood, but
that was the thing that this was the time that I was really cognizant of that. I was like, there is not that much blood in this movie, and
it takes a long time for stuff to happen, which is great. I like the long setup. Now it's like if there's not something jumping out at you every 10 minutes, people are upset, and I'm like, what about the slow burn? It's good. You want to build that tension.
Well, Cayley, I feel like you're the one of us qualified to talk about this, especially when we talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night and how Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 repurposes the same sequence. We talk about the amazing horror film boobs of Linnea Quigley that are featured in there. Where do you rate this film on the boob meter? Are they okay? I mean, do you feel like they are well on display, or
I'm a big fan of boobies in this movie. And I will say, you guys are exactly right. We don't get a ton of blood. What's so shocking about that initial hairbrushing sequence is that we get boobs and blood through the eyes of the killer, through the mask. I mean, it's just one of those like moments that is so quick dramatic and so exciting. It's not a ton of blood. It's just a little smeared blood over her boobie. But oh my God, I love it. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it's very stylized going through.
Yeah.
It's very
It
stylized.
was enough back then.
And
Yes.
how many times have we seen someone trying to recreate basically all the elements you're talking about? The nudity, the little bit of blood, through the mask. And this movie starts off with it. And Carpenter's like, yeah, all right, I'm done. It is, and you were mentioning this earlier, Will. I do like the sort of the honesty with which he talks about this movie. You know, it's like before the sequel trilogy, the way that Harrison Ford would talk about Star Wars, he's like, yeah, I don't know, it was his job. The way Shatner used to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I don't know. Watch TJ Hooker. It's on TV right now. Okay. Let's try and keep me working. You know, don't worry about it.
Yeah, no, fandom is just different. And there's like this obligation now to be an ambassador for the brand, you know, and like these guys come from an era where it's like, listen, they paid me money and we made it, you know, it's great. And then I made the next thing, you know, and like now it's like, if you don't talk about the fact that you're against world hunger, like everyone's like, but does Harrison Ford support world hunger? Is that what's going on? And it's like, no.
Well,
everybody's
he is married to Callista Flockhart, so he probably doesn't want people to eat very much, is what I guess I'm trying to say there. But it's fine. She's fine. Ally McBeal, no problem. So Cayley, what would you like to promote? What's going on over at Once Over with Cayley, your channel?
Oh, so much stuff is going on over there. You can check out my weekly movie reviews on Once Over with Cayley, Cayley on YouTube. In addition to that, over there, I am doing a series called Lucy Does Dabbleverse, where I am diving into the Dabbleverse and lots of topics about that. I've been covering the LOL suit between stuttering John Melendez and Carl and Shuli.
I've never heard of any of those people. I don't know what that is.
I know, it's so weird. Why would anybody care about any of it? Let's be honest.
But you do cover it better than anyone else, and you have the ability to, because you're not one of the people yet. I'll wait. One of the people that haven't been named in any kind of suit that you can kind of talk about.
I suspect it's coming down the pike.
Yeah,
I do suspect that it's coming down the pike. But yeah, you can also catch me on Who Are These Podcasts. Go always support Carl. Very important at these times, during the times of the lawsuit, and also on the Shuli Network every Thursday night. So go support those guys over there, and fightthedabbler.com for them also.
And while you're over at Who Are These Podcasts, make sure that you set the reminder for Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific for Who Are These Broadcasters, which I do with the great Eric Zane. And of course, 100 Songs That Define Heavy Metal is the one thing I do that actually makes me money. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, check that out. Anybody want to shout out social media or anything else? Neal, where can people find you?
Without Your Head everywhere. So Without Your Head on YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, Friendster, MySpace, Grindr, I don't know, everywhere. Just look up Without Your Head.
That's good. Yeah. And Will Sterling _
Yep, Will Sterling _ on everything. Without Your Head on Grindr could have a double meaning, so be careful. But yeah,
I know.
Could help though. Yeah, absolutely. And at Once Over Cayley, I believe, is because you had to shorten it, but it's Once Over with Cayley on Instagram.
Just say one last thing about
please, absolutely,
because it was mentioned earlier about that John Carpenter's like a curmudgeon and he always looks miserable, and I agree. I saw him live a few weeks ago when I was in New York. He did a live performance, which was amazing. He was in concert, played the themes of all his movies, and he looked so happy. I'd never seen him smile, and I was like, "This is what this guy really enjoys doing." Was playing his music, and I'd never seen him look like that. It was a really good experience.
Well, I feel like if you go and see an upcoming screening of Star Trek II with William Shatner, you will not see something that looks like that. Just let the man retire already. In any case, we appreciate having everybody on, and we'll do some more seasonal horror roundtables very soon. We appreciate it, and Cayley, Will, and I will be talking about the passing of Ace Frehley in our next episode, so tune in for that. But for now, happy Halloween, and we will see you next time on the Bladtcast.